for taking the time to be here for the Laguna Monterey Water District. Notice of the workshop meeting on April 29th, 2017. Notice is hereby given a workshop of the Board of Directors of the district to be held at 105 Fort Road, Fort Isabel, Texas, on the 29th day of April 2017 at the hour of 9 a.m. in consideration of the business of the agenda below. This notice is posted at the office of the district April 25th, 2017. At 3:45 p.m. in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551041, 551050. A copy furnished to the Cameron County Clerk and to the County Clerk and Cameron County Secretary. We do have the presence of a quorum. All the members are present except for Rick Wells, who had another agenda coming up. So may I please have everyone stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to come together and work with our daily business, our annual business, and our 5-year plans, Lord, that we have in front of us. Lord God, help us understand each and every agenda item that we have, and that we make the right decisions, Lord, as we come about to each one. And help us also move forward and do the best that we can to service the water district in every which way, Lord, that you can help us. And we thank you for this food this morning, and bless it. And we thank you for everything in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for being here on this Saturday. We know everyone has things to do, but we are all here and committed to the water district. It's well appreciated.
Okay, so we have here in front of us the information that the needs of the district, and mostly meter replacement, and then the rest of the stuff that comes in, capital improvements that are unfunded, and other information is good to have in front of us here, because we need to plan and see how we're going to fund it, and look at ways that we can reduce costs when it comes to that. So I guess we can start with item number 3. If you want to go ahead and
Consider and discuss complete meter replacement program.
yes. So I think Mr. Juan has a PowerPoint presentation.
It's a very small PowerPoint presentation. And on this discussion,
Your mic there, if you can report, you can come closer to the mic, because we can sit right here if you want.
one here.
Okay.
One right here.
And if you can speak louder, because
Sure. Okay. Good morning, everyone. And the reason that we're putting together this item is because we've been noticing some issues with the current meters that we have. Our meter system is already a little bit more than 10 years old, and basically has depleted the life expectancy that these meters had since 2007. The cost and maintenance of this system has increased tremendously, that the efficiency of keeping up with these meters is no longer sustainable. So we are putting together some information, because we think that we should proceed with the most advanced system. Right now, the one that we have is the AMR, which is the automatic meter reading, and we're proposing to implement the AMI, which is advanced meter infrastructure. First of all, I would like for you to see a little bit here on the cost that we have for the capital assets. If you see on the portion, the accumulated depreciation.
You don't even try to read.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you can't even read it here. I'm reading.
Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, it's...
Well, I can't read it.
Why don't
You
we
can
have
read
white
it?
on black or black on white?
Okay, I can just mention, if you like, basically what it is our capital asset system, it's more than half already depreciated. And our meters, since I'm telling you, it's already fully depreciated, the cost of the depreciation for just running the business is $2 million per year. And considering this is part of what is making it inefficient to sustain the meter that we have, the meter system. Right now, we are about to implement.
Yeah, this was just handed out at the meeting. Okay.
Like here, it's saying all the assets that the company has is a total of 117 million and versus 45 million that is already depreciated. So when we get into this point, we're looking into getting new infrastructure, new equipment, new improvements in the buildings, and basically on all the areas that we need to make good changes, especially with the meters, because the meters are the ones that are bringing the revenue. And at this point, since we have these meters for over 10 years, if we come up with a new system, the investment is going to be about $3.5 million if we put everything together. But if we only go by phases, it's going to be something according to whatever expense we would like to invest. At this point, like I said, the depreciation that we have, it is a real part of the cost of running a utility, so we need to have this component as an expense. So we know that $2 million is what we're running every year just for running our business. And most of our meters are over 10 years old, 4,919 out of the 6,400, almost 6,500 meters that we have. And we're considering that the capital improvement is necessary because it's more costly to repair and to provide maintenance to all these meters and than renew a new system. At this point, considering the last year of maintenance and expenses, we have spent $1,700,000 just in materials and meters replacement. So at this point, it's not effective anymore to continue with the current system.
We've been replacing meters.
Yes.
Quite a bit, quite a few of them.
Yes. Right here.
Is that included in that, you're saying we spent how much just to repair meters?
1.7 in meter replacement and 1.7 million in 10 years. In 10 years.
Okay.
So if you notice here in this.
That's for replacement, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So from 1 to 3 years, we have a total of 629 meters that we have replaced. But bottom line, most of our meters are close to 5,000 and it's over 10 years. So that's what I'm saying, that at this point it's not very efficient to continue with the same system. And as a utility, we understand that the meters is the current value of bringing revenue through our meters. So the meters must be cost efficiency, must be something that would allow us to avoid water losses because we're not measuring correctly or because of leaks that are not getting detected. Right now we have issues with unread, abnormals, period consumptions, idle meters. So that means that every pay period, every billing period, we need to send our meter readers to do additional verification on the meters. This is costing us more money because we're sending, the guys, it's more time consuming, it's the use of equipment, it's the safety of the meter readers, and also it's the time that is crucial for the billing process in order to have more accurate billing. The billing right now is giving us a current revenue for water service of 4.6 million, and then the revenue water service expected is around 3.1 million, 3,143,000. So if we meet this budget, it seems that we can still increase this revenue at least from 3 to 5%, depending on the efficiency of the meters, just by changing our meters, because we have so many meters that are being at this point getting like an estimate billing. So we need to actually have a meter that is accurate and that we're able to provide the information efficiently to our customers as well.
5% is $350,000 in savings, so you're suggesting that just in the 5% savings alone, that would make the partial payment
Exactly.
over
Exactly.
a 8-year payout.
Right.
Another question, hold on. Another question,
Someone you mentioned, that we're estimating some of the billing on some of the accounts?
Yes, when we have for example, let's say that we send the meter readers for verification, and sometimes, since we have so many that are giving us problems, that are not working, that need replacement, sometimes what we do is an average, and by the time that the meter readers get back with information, it's already the due date that we need to follow the process with the billing. So that's what I'm saying, that the billing process, in order for us to have everything on hand, we'll need to have this availability where we can get information quickly, and not expecting for two guys, to read the 3,000 accounts in 2 or 3 days, where we need to do the downloading for the billing.
And also, let me just add to that, when it comes to estimating, it's a matter of time between changing the meter completely and going back out and, repairing the problem, right? So our service policy does give us that authority to estimate and make sure that we cover we go back like averages, monthly averages, and then say, okay, this meter can't be read this month, but let's take an average and then estimate. And then after that, we work on the meter, change it out, and take care of the problem. But in that process, if there's like several meters that get to that point, you're gonna have the time frame of billing and all that kind of stuff.
And also, we have to go by the books and individually make an average, because we just don't give an estimate just like that. We have to go into the history of each customer and make a valid average, at least 6 months of service or something like that. And like Mr. Galvan says, next month, when we have the meter replaced, then we should have an accurate number. So if we do...
Well, we've got an ongoing program, correct?
Yes.
Changing out meters. Does that mean we're going to accelerate this program, or what are we going to do here? Because we're already changing out meters as we speak. And we're doing it at night, correct?
Meters we change out during...
Some of them during the day, but weren't they doing some at night? No, valve replacement. They were doing the valve replacement at night. Corrected, thanks. But, so, I mean, what's gonna change is what I'm getting
Well,
at.
what's gonna
We're changing
change-
out meters as we're going right now.
Yes, what's going to change is the system that we have. The system that we have right now, we're paying $14,000 to get an obsolete system to continue working. So basically, the system that we have is obsolete.
So are we gonna have to go back and change out apparently the 629 meters that we've already put in the last 2
Yes.
years?
Yes, because...
That's to be discussed.
No,
That's what
she just said yes.
Well, but she doesn't run the board.
No, what I'm talking about
Don't believe that.
yes, definitely. I mean, I have the options, and of course, you all make the decisions, but I'm telling you the numbers, what's going to be cost efficiency, and of course, you all decide. And
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of give some input, because Badger's our meter provider, and I happen to run into Chip up at Texas Water, and of course, the majority are residential meters, and they're at the 11, 12-year range. But as far as meter testing, they're showing to be accurate at this time. That's my understanding.
For the most part, they come back accurate. This new system that we're looking into, Mr. Thomas, it'll avoid that 1 month of us not tracking water usage or the meter going down.
With this new system, it'll let us know.
Technology driven.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It'll let us know right then and there, and we can start looking into what's going on right then.
Well, we're gonna start changing out
Well,
other ones that are broken or something like that, because we're just gonna keep changing old ones out and then replacing the old ones again? That's,
Well, I think the issue is the transmitters, like in terms of getting into the details of the transmitter and how it's communicating effectively. Because that's where
Okay.
things are falling, or you're losing reads, or, you know.
We had innovative technology, went 11 years ago in this.
Yes,
town.
sir.
Right.
Meter read was the innovation, now the technology has greatly improved.
Gone from AMR to
But
AMR.
can we use existing system with the new meters and upgrade, kind of like getting a new cellular phone, but on the same provider and carrier type?
Yes,
type
we
of
can.
operation?
there are many different options that we can look into, that there is. And we can, that's one, that we can keep in Badger, go with a different register and transmitter. But then you run into issues, because we did a pilot program with Master Meter, and it took us quite a while to figure out what the problems were. So, in my opinion, it'd be better just to go with a whole new system, where they, either Badger or Neptune or Census, they provide everything, and we're not piecing together.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, because right now with transmitters, we're having problems with their supplier,
Yes.
having a very delayed
Yes,
response time.
we had placed an order back in February for 60 transmitters. They pushed it back to March, April, May.
Because you're gaining dated technologies, which are.
Well, the thing is, they were having issues at the manufacturer.
Yeah, their
and-
manufacturer can't make the deliveries.
And basically, I sent them an email, and said, you know what, that's unacceptable. You know, I mean, you should have contingency plans, whatnot. We need those transmitters yesterday. We finally got them a week ago. So,
From my perspective, I'm following what everybody's saying, but at the same time, I feel that we've launched into the financial part of this before we actually got into the reasons and why that we're discussing what we're discussing here now. And I had an opportunity to sit in a little presentation by another company that's pretty impressive with the new technology. It's a whistles and bells. But I haven't heard yet, and my question is, what's the warranty on the existing meters that we are using now? I asked because you're saying they're 10 years old, and these folks yesterday were saying they're 20, 25-year warranty. And go ahead and answer that one. I have other questions.
okay, on the meters, yeah, you do have a warranty. It's, I believe, 10 years, then it's prorated. The agreement we have with Badger right now is that we need to send the meters at our cost to Wisconsin, I believe, so they can check them. And then they'll let us know, oh yeah, it's our problem or something else, then they'll make them good. And then we gotta pay for them to ship it back.
That's a couple weeks delayed.
Well, but I mean, we're paying for the shipping.
It's a warranty issue, so has that been addressed? I hear you say you put in a request and you've done all you can to get them to expedite it, et cetera. We're dealing with two issues, in my mind. We're
Okay.
dealing with the warranty on existing equipment that's not satisfactory, and there we're dealing with antiquated system, if you will. But before we give up that horse, I need to feel better that, you know, we've got all the life out of it that we can with that. And so I'm not ready to just say, well, they're not giving us service, so we need to buy all new meters. First, I want to address the problems that are being caused and see if that can be remedied of performance of the existing equipment we have. And then we get into the numbers of what it would take to go ahead and make the full upgrade to whatever opportunity. There was, in what I gathered out of the meeting yesterday afternoon, was that there's one company who's been very persistent, sound like they're pretty good, very competitive, will come down and do a full projection of cost and upgrade, et cetera. And so they're willing to come in and do that. In my comment to them, and then Mr. Galvan yesterday, what would help me would be that when we do that, then we get into all the backup financials, if you will, to take and see how the cost savings are. Show me some bottom lines. What they're attempting to do here now, I say attempting because I'm not grasping it, I'm darn sure not happy with a black screen. And to be able to follow along with what is supposed to be a presentation, but it's just, to me, it's just running through as a description that's really not giving me the direction that I feel that I can understand what we're trying to do. Start at the beginning and start showing us the problems. What's the problem with the warranty? What are we doing as far as being able to get service? We didn't like to hear that we're estimating some meters. So you'll address those issues and what you're doing for us, for me, to understand what's going on. Go ahead.
Based on what I just heard from staff, especially the welder, we said our meters are pretty darn accurate. But the only problems we're having is with the transmitters. We don't have any figures here on what it would, any financials. Okay, our meters are fine. Continue replacing those meters, but let's look at a new transmitter system. That's an option with that.
If it can be retrofitted.
Right, well, yeah, well, one of the vendors we saw is actually just buying this plastic insert on your meter vault, and it holds your transmitter in place. And it's a really cheap way to make sure it's always sitting there.
But is it the right, I'm interrupting, is it a right fix to where we want to move up? I'm all for moving up to the 21st technology. And what I heard was that you can have auto cutoff, you can have auto read, you can monitor the meter by the hour, the consumption. The customer in this one company has the capacity to create a login. They can watch their own meter. Instead of going to Minnie and say, Minnie, go send the guys out there and get me a meter readout for 30 days. That's all within.
Based on what Doyle said, that's what I would like to see is okay, with our existing meters that we're using, they seem to be pretty accurate. What would it cost us to upgrade these transmitters to have it on time, where instant, where we can identify when there's a leak right away, boom, boom, boom. Can it be done that way?
Yes, we've spoken with Badger, and all these meter companies have pretty much the same technology.
Right.
Okay, some are radio, some are cellular. I believe Badger is the only one that's cellular endpoints. The problem with that is, when I drive by, I believe the cost is 3 cents per meter or something like that for cellular endpoint. If we go to the fixed network, I think it jumps up to about 89 cents. Yeah, it gets, and then it's like your phone. Cents a meter. Yes. Now, and it's like your phone. If it upgrades, we got the G4, G5, G6. Like every couple of years, your phones that get upgraded. That's going to be the same issue we might run into with the Badger cellular endpoints.
Well, that's where we need to pursue this in a comprehensive exploration of the different companies, what they can provide. What I heard yesterday, this one company saying, no, we can do the upgrades automatically, whether it's G3, G5, G10, or whatever it may be, and they have these collection points that they can set up, and then they are willing to come down and do a spreadsheet to see what coverage that they can cover with a collection point. If there's not enough radius within that collection point, they can put a repeater in, so they can give us full coverage of the island. So what I'm saying is I recognize the need and the opportunity to go ahead and upgrade and fix the problem, but let's go back and see how we can fix the problem. And then let's get all the information from everybody. Right now you come in and say, we have this problem, but yet I'm not going to be able to see what I agree with the need to upgrade, but I'm not able to address anything that's going to be a cost savings to the district and how it can finance. They were talking yesterday, this one company, that there's a financing element that's really cheap that pays for itself just on the savings of operation. So if they're presenting that to us, let them bring it to us and show us how it can be saved. And
I would like to see something like that.
That's hard to believe.
I would like to see
Good
something like
selling point.
Doyle saying, let's a spreadsheet. Okay, this company, what do they offer? This company, what do they offer? Badger, what would it cost us to have it? Put it all in black and white in a spreadsheet format, so we compare and contrast everything, and then we pick.
Let's do black on white.
Black on white.
That's good, that's what we hear, the discuss all that, and it's good information. If I recall, like a few years back, maybe 4 years, where we had a drought, And, my concern was that Laguna Vista was on the low end. Consumption on that part, cycle one, I believe, was pretty low, and I was concerned about the meters a couple of years ago. So we started looking into meter replacement program 2 years ago, right? So we've been at it, like, finding all the information, and all we need to now is, like, this meeting here, direction on what the board needs, what the board wants, and we'll get all that information
And
together.
it's
bring
exactly
it back
what
to you.
we need
But,
at this point.
Going back to Laguna Vista, coming to find out that we did send notices, to water, because we're at the, I guess the reservoirs were under the 50%. So they did conserve, and that's what they were doing, conserving water, so conservation.
Yeah, we saw the drop in
we have in place
the
do
water
work,
consumption.
But, yes, so coming back to testing the meters, they were okay.
And I don't know about the rest of the board, but I would also like to see a breakdown, you know, like I said, by company spreadsheet, but also by zones. I mean, by our three different zones.
Yeah.
How much is it gonna cost to Laguna Vista? How much will it cost to DPI? And so if we wanna do it in stages, we have that option
Right.
also. If we wanna do it in a 3-year program, so. We do have quite a bit of reserve money. We might be able to pull
Yes,
some
we
of that.
do.
We
We
might be
do.
able to pull some of that, and, you know, every year, if you seem to have $500,000-$600,000 left over from operating, we can, you know, throw that back in the reserve to build that back up. If we take-
5% savings is greater than the interest earned.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
So,
as many options as possible, I would like to see.
Well, basically, that's the whole point of this presentation right now, to hear from you guys if you are aware, you know, that this issue, and then if you can give us precisely that direction so we can go for the RFIs. The RFI, I already have it, you know, just kind of like ready to send it to the vendors so they can provide us that information. And those are the questions that I'm putting there, but they're not gonna, you know, if we're not completely sure that we're gonna do something. So that's the first step that I needed, you know, for you to hear, you know, that there's this issue, these concerns, and of course, every company is gonna bring their best product. And if you agree, I mean, I would love to get the best that we can, because we shouldn't just get back on the technologies that we have. I believe that it's best if we go with a better technology, something that is gonna give us the 2 connections type of deal, instead of just this one, that the AMR is just one type of connections where someone needs to go and pick up the information to the meter, and then on the AMI, the advanced meter technology, on this one, from the office, you know, we can get the information, we can get profiles, we can give better customer service, and also we will be able to see immediately, even if the system may have a water leak on some of the pipes. And also, you know, this will be a great value for, not only for the customers, but also for the district.
okay, so in saying all this, I guess, we can move forward and bring back information to the board and.
Well, we're looking at basically the difference in cost on the sending units, correct?
Well, and it would also cost, if it's needed, we don't know if if we retrofit the sending units on there.
Exactly.
And then the district, we need to be able to compare different cycles of this, and it came up, the question yesterday was that if the highest consumption is on the island, and if you take and implement this new AMI over there, that the existing meters can be used to maintain the other 2 cycles for a period of time till we can go up. Give us the opportunity if we want to take and buy the whole enchilada.
Anybody
or
know if our
parts of it.
existing meters are compatible with the new sending units? Do we know that? No,
What was that
I
again?
think Will said yes earlier.
Our existing meters are compatible with the new sending units, is this correct?
The one that we have right now, yes.
We can find one that'll communicate.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
transmitter, the sending unit, whatever you want to call it, little black devil.
most meter companies can interfere with the other one. They can,
So it doesn't make any difference. I don't want to have to change out every meter along with every sending unit.
Well,
Now
that's
we're
just it.
talking about a bunch of money, boys.
what can happen, if I may real quick, let's say we start with cycle 3 on the island, and then we can put our collectors and repeaters, cycle 1, cycle 2, then we can start what they call pepper and then the other meters. As we need to change them out, as the issues come up, we start changing those out.
Right, but just to clarify, we're not doing a meter replacement program, we're doing an upgrade from AMR to AMI. That's what we're talking
Well,
about.
that's actually what it would be.
That's part of it.
Well, we've been replacing some meters though, but they're bad
But
meters.
we're not upgrading the radio system.
So the question is, will the individual company meters function with a different reading system? Or will our
You just
old
said
meters
yes, I thought.
work with the meter reading system? And then I need the input of the condition of our existing meters. And, we phase them in over time, to bring up speed. Go ahead.
I just have one more question for Minnie. An AMI type system, what would that do for customer service?
That would give them the ability to be able to see if there's a leak on their side. They can see it too.
Customers can see it.
Yeah, they can see it too. There's another
And then
program.
but y'all can see it though too.
Yes, and we'll get notified
You
right
get red
away.
flags on it.
You
Yes,
get
we get a flag
first.
right there and then. Instead of this way, we'd have to wait till we're billing.
billing.
Yes,
Right.
and then their bill is already extremely high.
Yeah, you can get an hourly notice with
Yes,
this new
an hourly
program.
The biggest thing is that you eliminate the drive-by.
All these
Yes.
meter companies, if I'm not mistaken, have that ability where you can set up your account and you get alerts
Yes.
on your phone via email or text, whatever. You can set your water usage. You get alert, okay, once I hit 2,500 gallons or 3,000 gallons,
Customers can do that.
Yes.
customers can do that into their own account through a password and whatever that's set up.
That sends them alerts.
Send them alerts to let them know, if you're at work, why's my water running? Something's going on. Somebody's at my house, somebody's using my water, whatever the case might be.
Right, and it will take 30 days for them to find out.
Yes.
Have we got a price difference on the new sending unit?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Price difference. We got, talking about putting in these new sending units, upgrading these, whatever you wanna call it. Pick a name.
That's a little bit more.
What's the cost
But we'll get all this.
I don't have that information.
Okay.
Oh, but yeah, I mean,
Every company.
Okay, so the consensus that we're coming out of the workshop with is that, I'll speak for myself, I'm agreeable to bring me the information, bring me all the companies, bring me give me your best shot, and then there's a menu within each of these companies that we can buy
right.
or opt to go with. At the same time, let these companies come in and do their studies on how they can best serve us.
Okay.
And I mean, we are talking about a ballpark like $2.5 million or something in that range. I mean, that's the kind of.
Charles, you throw out numbers like that, like it's nothing, okay? So when you,
Because we would do a system change out
For transmitters
for the AMR to AMI, it would be in that range. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
but you know us well enough by now that we're gonna say, okay, if you're throwing out that number, I gotta see a number at the bottom of the savings and how we can take and make up for that.
It has to be valued on expense.
Yes.
One thing also, if I may, real quick, we'll need to keep in mind that the system, if we go to a new system, if they can revert back to the drive-by system. And I say that in case, because we're in a hurricane area, if repeaters, whatever go down,
Make a note of that.
yes, sir.
Make a note of that question, that's a great.
Because if not, we're gonna go back to walking the alleys.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, I
sir.
want you to do that.
I'll bring you with me.
That way I can find the meter, because I just follow you guys.
I'll take you with me.
Let's move on, excellent topic. Let's move on to item number 4, consider and discuss the unfunded capital improvement project. Charles?
All right. Yeah, if you want to just jump to the first page in the supporting document. Oh, well, I don't know, it'll be on the overhead projector, if you can get back to this summary sheet. So we can just kind of go down the line, talk about each project, and then kind of take our notes for how we want to address each issue. So the first one is, basically what's already under construction at Port Isabel wastewater treatment plant, where we know we need to address our sludge holding tanks. Because right now, our two center basins have been the sludge holding tanks. We call them digesters. That's never been the correct name because we don't have digesters. They're sludge holding tanks. But they've been in place since 1974. And so now, we prepared a design plan with the sludge holding tanks being issued out on a separate bid and to be in the schedule in the last 6 months of our current construction. And that cost estimate is at $2.2 million, and our available funding is basically zero. And so now we saw the change order to keep our sludge holding tanks working with all the upgrades that are under construction right now from the presentation on Wednesday. And so at a minimum cost, just to keep our sludge holding tanks working with all the upgrades coming in, we're looking at $120,000 just to...
This is from the presentation Corello gave
Yes.
last meeting.
Yeah,
In our conversation that I recall, was that the question was brought to Corella was, it's like $120,000 to upgrade our existing facility, right? But the 2.5 or 1.2, depending on how many holding tanks were required. And the one, I recall the question and the answer that, we're running at about 60% capacity currently, so we're in good standings to operate with what we have.
Right.
And then we've discussed if we have the holding tanks, if it's 1 tank or 2 tanks, and it's a matter of we don't need it now and not even the next 10 years, depending on how you project out.
Yeah, I mean, from our 2012 hydraulic model where we did estimates for 2015, 2025, and 2040. I mean, the general recommendation was we need to think about expansion on the main line, whether we were kind of going towards Laguna Vista at the time, but with the potable reuse, we really want to get that flow to Port Isabel so we can send it back for recycling. So it's kind of our game plan from 2012 to today has shifted for expansions and future growth being in Port Isabel rather than Laguna Vista. And so we kind of need to think about that sooner than later, on the mainland especially, because I mean we are running at 60%. So right about the time we pay off our 2007, which has been refinanced to 2015 bonds, that'll be 2027. And go figure, we're going to be at 100% on our
Do you have do you have any projection of what we might need in the future?
Well, we have to go to.
We're going to have some growth in Laguna Vista or whatever, but we're speculating there.
Right. I mean, the next step with the structures that we have would be going from 1.1 to 2 million gallons per day. That's like a phase 3 in our master planning process.
Okay. My question is, if we're doing that, and we're trying to plan for the future, and let's just say that we get to that point in the future that says we need this extra capacity in order to do that. What does it take to put the tank in? How long would it take to put a tank in if that became the problem then?
Well, with what's in the existing plant that's currently under construction, if those sludge holding tanks go to aeration today, we can go to 2 MTD in 10, 15 years and do absolutely nothing to them.
Right.
Versus if we do a $120,000 modification, in 10, 15 years, we're going to have to do a $2 million modification.
So do we spend $2 million today or $2 million in 10 years?
Exactly. That's the question.
But it's on
$2.7 million, but.
Right.
2.7, but it's on speculation of projection growth.
Right. And
we don't know.
Well,
It's been about 3%.
Yeah, exactly. And I just looked at the numbers because I do have the draft from that reclamation action item, which I'll distribute when we get to that project. But from the connections we did in our December 2015 study to March 2017, we had a 3.9% increase in connections.
So 4%, 40% over 10 years.
Well, that was 2 years.
2 years, 20%. My whole point is I'm trying to, in my mind, grasp the need for doing it right now.
Right, and I think the thing is,
protecting an unknown growth.
Well, it has to be. You have to have funding. You have to have the ability to finance it. And so basically, right now, we have $120,000 that we can take out of the operating fund essentially because that's the only available source today. Or we can think about the big picture to get our 50-year improvement in, and then we finance over, a 20-year revenue note or something. I mean, that would be, so your annual payment, it probably ends up being less than $120,000, but you pay it. Exactly. It's kind of one of those things.
Excuse me, I have a question. The $2.2 million for the sludge holding tanks would be absolutely crucial to have if we're going to do the water reclamation facility?
No, it's not related to the water.
It's not related to it, okay. Question.
Right, and I mean, just so we can cut that cost down, is if we only do 1 tank today and save a second tank for future, then that's what drops it
What you can do
down.
on, but what you can add it on.
Exactly.
Not a big deal. That's one of the questions I asked.
Right. I mean, if we do the one holding tank at the $1.2 million range, then this $120,000 goes away, and we don't even think about it. We just make the plan to find an additional funding source and issue the job for construction that's already at 99% design. At the last 6 months of construction.
Well, along with that, in my mind, we're considering future needs and how to pay for it. at the same time, I've got to feel more comfortable how we're paying for what we're already obligated for in the meantime.
We have 24 million worth of debt right now. 24 million that, it's 60 million out of tax bonds, and the rest is from revenue bonds. So I think that we're committed enough for the amount that we have. The common revenue is around 9 million per year within everything that we have in our budget.
Yeah, but that's projection, but at the same time, we're talking about considering doing expenditure today based on revenue growth in the future. But we're not gonna get that projected growth in the future that's gonna actually pay the indebtedness today.
We don't have the business structure for tomorrow.
Right.
Well, one of the bond test requirements is we have to have a debt service coverage ratio over 1.35. And with our current revenue debt, you know, we get down to like 1.4. But that was, I mean, we need to, that's based on the prior year's audit. So like when we complete our audit for 2016, I mean, that's when we'll have an update to recheck the debt service ratio and see where we're at.
But it's like pushing it, I guess, to the max.
Right.
Whereas on the tax side, our tax rate is...
0.48, 45, and 2
Nothing.
years before,
It's
it's
nothing.
good.
2.45
Yeah,
is nothing.
yeah, years back,
It
it
used
was
to be
0.8,
eight.
yes.
It used to be eight.
Mhm.
And then prior years it was
Yeah.
like 10 and 13 cents.
And, usually, you know, like, many customers, you know, they send their attorneys to call to see how much do we owe, you know, in tax debt, because for them it's important in order if they plan to move over here, if they wanna buy land over here, so it's important.
I mean, to sell a tax bond to the public, we as directors need to be, you know, 100% sure of what we're doing.
I think that's the next agenda item that we have there is talking about that.
Yeah, I have scheduled if we go that route on the next item, but I just kind of wanted to walk through the general projects that would
Let's
be...
try to figure out an
trying to-
amount, the total amount.
Oh,
So
yeah, I mean, I
We pretty well
really...
tapped our revenue.
Right, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
The revenue.
So we gotta take it to the voters. So we ought to know what we're talking about when they start buttonholing us on
Right.
why we ought to take all that money away from them.
And this list, which, I mean, if I can get authorization, the engineer's report would have to be done through the summer, and then we'd have hard numbers the first week of August to know what dollars we're talking about with a valid analysis to back it up.
Not the mills.
Oh, 17, 18 million.
So
Like you
all
know,
of this.
yeah. When I threw the shot in the dark, you know, that first meeting that triggered this workshop, I threw very preliminary numbers on here. My guess on grit removal, like at each plant, Isabunk and Eddie Bowie, was 2.2 million. Our actual grit removal headworks at Port Isabel cost 2.9 million, and I was stunned. I mean, it should not cost that much. So that's where I'm kind of coming in, where I think we need to have it value engineered a lot better. Right, and so if we drop it down, I mean, the Proposition 2, seawater was, what, 19 million? 8, well, no, it's in the board packet, actually, in the backup, I don't know the number. off
Well,
top
the
of my head.
desal
What would
thing,
17 million
but
do?
that was 13, wasn't it, for
What
desal?
would 17 million do to tax?
15?
Tax rate?
Well,
More or less.
Put it back at 8
A
cents.
penny?
let's say that, it's 48 cents per $100. So
So another 4
That's what it's for.
cents, another 4 and 5 cents?
like,
Yeah, let me...
maybe $5 more?
Well, 'cause I know the big deal when Davino was here, to proceed with the seawater plant, is we had to issue...
I'm just wondering, let's say.
How much it will be if
So a
they're gonna
$15 million
pay,
bond issue, what would that do to the tax rate
Okay, well, we can always,
Okay.
go by the years of,
An answer.
of the last
Like
one we did?
yeah, then we can go with, if you decide like the
Well-
.08 again, we can go with that for 30 years, instead of 20.
What would happen...
Well-
But
Yeah,
I think he already has information on that.
yeah, because remember the big thing with...
106 is 20 is the target.
Oh, .06?
We're the lowest
Okay, then that would put us
taxing
at like roughly 8 million,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
of everybody.
I mean,
The school, what is that, in Brownsville, that college thing gets more tax dollars than we do. So for our
Countywide.
homeowner, businessman to scream bloody murder over the level of taxes, he ought to be out there walking around the different campuses and other places in the county commissioner's court instead of us. I mean, we're cheap, we're the cheap guy on the block. What can we?
I'm glad that we moved on the water side, the water treatment, that we did, 2012, super, because it's gonna last for, let's see, 10
Forever.
Yeah.
We just keep
Forever,
upgrading and
yeah.
maintaining.
So that's,
Yeah.
good quality water that we're getting now and, good on the water side.
For a $50,000 value home, it will be around $20 more.
That's going back to 8 cents?
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, if we add the 40.
Oh, add another
cents.
40.
All right, so going back to 8 cents, what would they get us millions?
Well, that's just it, because Proposition 2, we needed to issue Proposition 2 to maintain our 8-cent tax rate. And so that was for 15.7 million.
So,
And since we didn't issue it, we were forced to drop down to 4.5.
okay, so we can get about $15 million worth of money for this, jack our rates back up to 8 cents, which is really nothing.
Can we do that?
$20 a year?
But.
Tell me what the process to do that is.
Well,
It's that the
Approval.
schedule.
There's a
you-
schedule.
My other question is, what can we go up to without triggering a voter approval? What can we raise the rate?
We don't.
You can only, on obligation bonds, you have to go to voter approval, that's law. Revenue bonds, you can do in-house.
Tax bonds, the voters approve it already.
Right.
And so there's no we don't do a rollback like cities do.
Right.
They can't roll back on us. Once
Okay.
they approve it, they can't
Okay.
roll back on us.
Or you
Okay.
can do also rate increase if you need something for operational or
revenue,
capital
for
projects,
revenue.
for revenue, yes. For revenue, not asking for any.
Well, just me speaking, I see, if the board is gonna try to sell this, I wanna see some conservation projects in here, like this reclamation, the blower upgrades throughout our system, that's gonna be cost savings.
I thought we already had the blower upgrade plugged
just
in.
one.
Any buoy blower upgrades would be on this bond issue.
We don't have the money for it, otherwise.
Yeah, we don't have funding.
We need some offset.
It's a bond that's under construction, and any buoy would be proposed under the tax bond.
Obligation bonding is for major infrastructure.
Okay,
Typically.
get it now, thank you.
One thing I didn't see on here, why you're gonna like this one, river pump station upgrade.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
that's it.
we're okay with that one.
Well, it's like 250,000, it's not essential. I mean, we don't
I
really
think,
need to.
we got how many pumps running?
All the pumps are running. They're doing well right now, yeah.
Still like to see that mess cleaned up out in front of it.
Inside in front of the grading,
In the
I
river.
see it right on the.
Yeah, where we're
but
getting ready to
inside that
suck
well,
half
it's
the
clean.
mesquite.
I've already had that inspected and. it's
I'm not
clean.
talking about that, I'm talking about just redug out where it's starting to silt in across the open. Get a drag line out there and really open it up, because the more silt we're gonna get out there, the more we're gonna pull that. The silt will come through the screens, okay? It's kinda like stuff going through like lead going through the microfiltration. And all that silt does, it starts filling up your reservoirs, but on top of that, it starts wearing on your pump seals, your bearings, and everything else, right on down the impellers. So, the less silt we're moving along with our water, so if we had good deep water out there in front, which we don't, we didn't. 4 years ago, when I was looking at it, I thought it needed digging out. And, don't get in there with a drag line, don't know what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, we'll bring it up to the board on,
Which Heather's like me.
Pardon me. Sued.
I have a question, what's this Laguna Vista tank improvement?
That can go on to the 10-year plan, but basically, we have a small tank.
Is that a
Our tank-
whole new tank?
It's an entire new tank.
Okay, well, it's not an improvement on the old tank. I
No,
thought, this
the old
isn't
tank
a
would be
paint job,
demoed.
right?
The old tank drains in 5 minutes. You know, I mean.
Oh, does it that
Well,
quick?
it's something where it's a real common.
80,000 gallons or something?
Yeah,
75,000.
yeah, 10-15 minutes that tank's cycled. You know, so
Concrete block signs is what you're saying.
right, another one of these giant ones. But I mean, from a TCQ standpoint, we don't need more elevated storage. It's just more from a realistic standpoint of when you have a pressure loss in Laguna Vista, you'll have that reserve. And it was in the CDM Smith report, but that's like, you know, I mean, there are 2025 peak flow conditions are going to result in high pressures in Laguna Vista, low pressures at the island, and we do need to resolve that at some
Is there any
point.
place to get it in down close to the golf course?
Where we
The
acquire
tank
science.
itself?
I mean,
You'd
there's
have to buy some property
a couple of
down there.
lots or find a. I mean, there's 420 acres that are about to go to
Well,
wildlife
because,
conservation.
which way is Laguna Vista gonna grow? It's gonna grow down 510.
Holly Beach, especially when the second
So
causeway
to
comes
put
in.
the tank down at 510, or down at Highway 100, and then have to push all that water from an elevated tank, and your friction loss on the way, by the time you get down there, you've kind of wasted your, it'd almost be good if we could go out and get it on that ranch land past the golf course. What
Okay.
size is that line going out there, guys? It's a pretty
10?
good sized line, isn't it?
Where at?
They're going
I-
down.
Yeah, it's about-
Yeah,
To have a 12-inch loop,
It goes 12, 10,
Okay.
8, and I think, Buena Vista Road dropped down to 6.
right, and if we ever interconnect with East Rio Hondo, they have a 12-inch, a new one on 510 at Buena Vista. And I think to get a 12-inch loop with an interconnection is like 3,500 feet, somewhere in there.
Well, we could put it anywhere out there, because an 8-inch will fill the tank. Doesn't take anything to fill it
I mean, we could
when
make,
it starts draining, because we're pumping it full.
yeah.
Then its gravity's out.
I mean, the sewer plant's kind of a tight spot, but unless we want to get something off of Christensen.
Yeah. Do we have enough there?
Nah, it's pretty tight. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, well, I mean, we have land, but it's under the reservoir. Like, you'd have to fill it or something.
Well, how big a tank are you talking about?
Oh, I don't know the number off the top of my head.
50,000.
Like a, what size are our big, we such a tank and,
What, a hundred?
The 600,000 gallon tank,
Is
minimum height,
Wasatch that big?
400,000.
Yeah,
This
but
one here is 360,000.
my question is, how much land do you need for that?
oh, it looks like that footprint in Laguna Heights works fine, or the one right here.
Yeah, not much,
Yeah.
not much, so,
Right.
you know, even when you said that,
200 feet by 200 feet gives
yeah,
you everything
you say
you need.
we had to fill in some of that area that,
Mhm.
the land we already have on that.
But I mean, when we're talking about being limited on a $15 million cap, I mean, I think this is a job that gets bumped to 2020, 2025. Like, we shouldn't be messing with it at this time.
I think they're all going.
Well,
The other ones are all higher priority.
that's, something like that, that's a long-term thing we need to really work at, because let's face it, the new causeway's gonna come in, and you know what's gonna be at the bottom of the causeway. We sell T-shirt shops, okay?
Oh, well, if we follow that three-county plan that Black and Beach did for the Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council, their projection is a seawater plan in 2050, and I think by 2070, a 60-inch water main would be attached to that 7-mile bridge to serve all the way up through McAllen, because we're gonna exhaust our groundwater, our surface water, everything.
Run that one by me again.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Run that one by me again.
Oh.
Get your hands
Yeah,
in front of your
I-
face
I'll
so
be
we can
90
hear you.
Or 100 years old.
Well,
Well, by 2070, so basically when I am 96
2070.
years old, we're going to probably have a 7-mile causeway, a 50 MGD seawater desalination on the island with a 60-inch main getting water all the way out to McAllen.
All right, so just put the desal
Yeah.
plan out there.
Believe that too. I believe, well,
Track
yeah.
31, am I going?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah, no referendum?
Hopefully they'll figure out how to
I think that's your tracking.
desal our water.
Yeah, I
For
don't
less
buy
than
the,
a
I don't
dollar
buy
a
the discharge
gallon.
permitting
Yeah,
for
right.
that salinity level. No.
Yeah, but, you know,
Everything's possible, but it takes money to.
Yeah.
We got too much turbidity, plus we've got too much suspended salt. We're hypersaline, and, oh,
the Gulf is,
yeah. No, I went to, they had a whole bunch of classes on that, and I was a real pro desalination guy, right? By the time I got done, I'd just go back to the motel room and sit with my head between my legs. I'll tell you, I had a bad sinking spell.
they'd do better to pull the groundwater in McAllen area and collector wells or something like that, pulling that
And really,
sweeter water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how
Redo
the
it
hell do
instead
you
of
pull
pulling seawater.
20 million
Right.
gallons a day out?
A whole
yeah.
bunch of well points.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
think we can do
eventually,
that.
you'll start pulling in salt water, though. It'll creep in, like it did the Edwards, they did that at the Edwards. Some developers up there in San Antonio went out there, and they were gonna build these lakes. So they tapped in, got into the aquifer, and started pumping it down, and salt water started leaching into the bottom of the aquifer. Is that cool or what?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't think we need to think about seawater plants until they've exhausted the brackish groundwater to its limit in where the population's at up in McAllen.
Also, they pull a lot of water out of Houston, Clear Lake sunk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, what is it?
This is Charles.
Oh, this is the submittal that was due yesterday to Bureau Reclamation. So it went out, and I mean, it's really an update to the water reclamation facility project cost. I mean, based on, you know, the analysis did Thursday, Friday, we're not at 6.86 million anymore, go figure. Because we need
Before we move on there, did we
Okay.
finish up what we're talking about here on your projects? We talked about, you know, considering raising the tax or going to an election for that. Have we got any consensus of a direction?
Well,
that we
when we
wanna
go to item
go
3,
through?
we can go through all that. That's item 3 on the agenda. Or, I'm sorry, it's the next item on the agenda.
Okay,
Item
all right.
5.
Thank you. So this, what you handed us now is a follow-up
It's
to my
still-
comment from meeting last, or are you going to
Yes.
get the letter ready?
Yes, and the
And
letter,
this is
we
the
did make
letter
the
you
deadline.
produced.
It was submitted, and so that's the copy for you to take home. You can read it. And just to thumb through it real quick, you know, of course, we had the 3.9% increase on our number of connections since the feasibility report. The reservoir balance, the reservoir volume capacity for Falcon and Amistad is at 62%, so we're at normal conditions, which gives us that full water right of 7,378 acre feet per year. Our diversions for 2016 were 5,774 acre feet, and when we're fully prorated, we're only authorized to divert 5,628. So we take more water than what we'd be restricted to under drought conditions today. I mean, that's where we're sitting. So we need to figure out how to be ready for that shortfall.
Well, I go,
Well, we do have access, Texas Parks and Wildlife,
Yeah,
Fish and Wildlife.
yeah. Parks and Wildlife is 1,000 acre feet that we're not supposed to use for this, but that's what happens when we.
I still think we need to go out and cut a deal with them and make them a pond out there,
Yeah.
a wetland.
Yeah. I mean, our water rights
Work
account.
as another reservoir.
Right. You just because you know the only way we gain revenue in a water rights account is annexation, and once you annex to the district, you've contributed to our water rights account, and our balance today is at 0. So that's what we're sitting. And so I guess just kind of stick on the update for the water reclamation project. You know, there was an eligible portion of this sewer plant that's already under construction. In our feasibility study, we estimated that at $4.5 million. Based on the contractor's schedule of values, it was $2.5 million. And we don't know if they're going to consider that eligible if this funding opportunity ever comes out or not. It could be under contract. It's probably lost project already. But the future work that still has a grant potential to it is the advanced water treatment plant there in Laguna Vista. And the items that were not included in the board packet, but it was included when we were preparing this letter, was the effluent characterization, the permitting for getting the brine disposal pipeline in place and permitted. We'll have to do a pilot study. When you add those components to it, we're looking at $8.4 million for the whole facility to get built. That's kind of where it's sitting right
Only
now.
money, Doyle.
But we're also talking about $8.4 million that everybody's going to want to have a contribution tied to it. So we could get a 25% grant. And what's interesting is we did this submittal in the afternoon at some point, 3-4 o'clock, and at 5:03, Reclamation responds saying that they're working to identify desalination and water recycling projects that may be eligible for funding under Section 4009 of the Water Infrastructure Improvements of the Nation Act, which is something I've never heard of. And basically, based on our submittal, Reclamation plans to include the letter to Congress identifying eligible projects under WIN. The letter to Congress will identify a list of projects eligible to apply for funding through a competitive grant program for planning, design, and construction of desalination water recycling projects. And at this time, they'd like an opportunity for us to confirm if we would like our project to be included on the list of projects that will be transmitted to Congress.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we're sitting.
Include the meter upgrade, too.
Yeah. So basically, you know, on Monday, I'm just came to get your confirmation, but I'll say yes, confirmed. And then it's going to be included on their public website, because since we're dealing with federal funds, all this is going to be known to everybody. So and that's kind of how it goes. And just to kind of walk through some of the environmental, because they're real big on the environmental and cultural resources side of it, because that's just part of the federal process. And so this letter goes into basically what we got through the TWDB in this past year was a categorical exclusion. Because when any improvements are on an existing plant site, you're just exempted from environmental process. But for a new pipeline, which is what our brine disposal is gonna be, that's not exempted. That's gonna have to go through a full environmental review. And so just to kind of, and even the fact that we're discharging to the bay directly, that's a core real estate action. So we're gonna have to go through Corps of Engineers for wetland permitting and real estate to physically build our outfall. And so basically, you know, we gotta think about, and then the disposal itself requires a new discharge permit. Like right now, we have 4 discharge permits. We have a reclaimed water use discharge permit in Laguna Vista, and our brine would be a 6th discharge permit that's completely new. And the sooner we can start that, the better, just so we can be ready for it. And that's part of where I'm trying to prepare for a request on May 10th. Even though we'd have to do a budget amendment to get things started this summer, I mean, that's kind of, you know, to get ready, especially when we're being sent to Congress with grant opportunities.
I can agree with that. And is there anything that we've discussed this morning that might be subject to some of these regulations that we should be addressing, even though we're not going to be taking on that project right now? Or is there anything, you know, I'll use the example, even the sludge holding tanks. Is there something that we need to start, you know, doing this time-consuming work?
Absolutely.
Even if we're not pulling the trigger on the tanks themselves? Yeah.
Right. Well, the thing is, we had our project meeting with
They won't take any environmental
Texas Water Development Board
because
and
they're
the
in-house
contractor,
on-site.
just our construction progress meeting.
What kills us is when we start traveling
Juan Santana is the local construction inspector, works out of Harlingen with Texas Water Development Board. And when they heard the discussion of our sludge holding tanks and no funding, he just raised his hand, we got the money, coming over. And so basically, we can start a conference call on Monday and add more money to our existing loan to get these sludge holding tanks funded, if we want to go that route. And I mean, I know Whitey doesn't want to hear more debt on the revenue side, but we can go down to 1.35, and we're only at 1.4, and we do have a revenue increase. With the
Well, I
revenue
wasn't proposing that. I was
Yeah.
saying if we're going to take and,
Keep more projects
No, we can
proactive and
revise
on
the debt service.
well, if there's going to be a portion of the project that's going to take a lot of time as far as permitting with the Corps and EPA and all that, I think that, you know, in my mind, there's enough consensus that sooner or later we're going to need to do it. And so maybe some of that groundwork needs to be started now.
Right.
And if it's 5 years or 10 years or 2 years that somebody decides they need sludge holding tanks, they've already got that groundwork done.
Right, and so, well, the decision now is either we just let CSA proceed with construction as shown in plans, do fine bubble diffusers, but that's not a long-term solution. They're going to clog, they're going to be a maintenance nightmare. We need to, if they're going to be in place for 10 years, we need to not put in fine bubble, we need to put in coarse bubble, we need to do a PD blower and a separate air supply system today. And if they're going to be replaced, or if we're going to have new tanks in a year or two, we just deal with the maintenance problems with fine bubble and sludge holding tanks. That's kind of the trigger that we need to decide immediately.
To me, you got to turn that into dollars for me to understand.
I mean, right now, we do a change order of $120,000 to CSA, and it's really telling us in 5 to 10 years we're going to spend $2 million anyway, or we do no $120,000 change order, and we do a $1.2 million improvement within the next year or two as it's funded.
But otherwise, he's gonna have to struggle a little bit.
And it's going to always be a maintenance nightmare. I mean, we've had this problem, I mean, as it is, when this plant...
Until we go with this way.
Right.
And when the plant was built in the 90s, just to give you an idea, when we added the circular clarifiers, or it might have been 80s, I don't even know. Yeah, so in the 85 edition, they did circular clarifiers, and during some point in construction, we took out there as plant manager and said, where's the waste lines? And there aren't any waste lines because we never built them.
Right.
And so the whole way we wasted is Wicho himself built our waste line system by dropping a pump in the first aeration basin and sending it over to the sludge holding tanks because the guys who weren't really sure in the design never put it to the contractor, and the contractor never built it, and then when the operator was left for the plant to run, he had no way to waste.
I'm a little troubled by...
That was interesting engineering.
I'm a little troubled and I'm a little concerned when we're throwing these numbers around. You're saying, well, we can bump up our numbers to a level, but at the same time, I think we should be cautious because we've discussed past droughts, past dropping revenue because of droughts. And there's things like that, so we can't assume that everything's going to be status quo. We can't push ourselves, in my mind, can't push ourselves to the envelope thinking the good times are going to stay, revenue-wise.
Right, and that's why we need to be very strict with that 1.35 debt service ratio, like, we need to make sure we meet bond test requirements so we don't proceed, period, like on the
Right.
revenue side. Or we
But
can
you're
do
saying,
83.
well, let's go 1.4.
Well, it's at 1.4 today, that's where we're sitting, in our worst year.
Yes, revenue never stays the same.
No, right,
It's growing or dying.
right. And so that's my glass is half empty.
Yeah, but the revenue to expense ratio is what we need,
Yeah, we're in good condition right now.
Keep it. That one year when we did have a drought, we were hurting on revenues, we did fall under that threshold, and we had to send a letter, to our bond, the people that owned our bond, we had to send them a letter explaining, what happened, isn't that correct? We had to do that one year. So we don't want to do that.
Our debt ratio, I guess, on revenue compared to operating revenue? In other words, how much do we owe versus the income on the revenue side, revenue bonding?
Well, right now, we're in pretty healthy condition because, we're overcoming at least for when $1 million apart, of, like, let's say that we're meeting our expectations and, we're still having 1 million kind of like available for the different budget amendments or whatever we are projecting at the end. So if you put it into ratios, it's gonna be basically like, 0.30 above of what we need, basically. It's good. So it is a very healthy, statement that we are producing right now. The only problem with that is that, if we're gonna continue kind of like bringing more depth in revenues, we're not able to invest in other infrastructure, and that's where we have an issue, because we still have this expense, which is the depreciation, because everything is getting depleted. We're using equipment, we're using the infrastructure, and the projects that we're needing, for implement growth and other things, So we still need to kind of like look for ways of investing, not just looking on how we're meeting the expenditures.
Hey, Daisy, can you jump to page 53 on the board packet?
Why don't you jump in there? I have a question for the staff. Do you all see anything down the road that we might include in the long-range plans? Y'all see anything down the road that we might want to put in?
Anything on the lab, Jerk?
No, the only thing, Charles and I talk about upgrading our computers to, instead of, we're old-fashioned and doing paperwork.
Mark, on the wastewater, we got everything from the Mark and the
Lift stations.
Yeah, lift stations was in the packet. I mean, right now, for Mark's assessment of like rehab and pump replacements, we're looking at $713,000 is what he submitted for his immediate need, basically. And the CDM Smith study, which I wouldn't really implement at this point until we have a flow monitoring program and update our wet weather flows, it was at like $4.5 million.
distribution?
We've done pretty good, past couple of years, on the infrastructure side. And on the island, whenever we need, if there's a house or units going up that they need to upgrade the water line, we're having the contractor do that upgrade, and it's costing them, so we're doing good on that.
We still getting upgraded on the beach boulevard?
Yes, sir. The bids are out on that, correct, Charles?
Yeah, Beach Boulevard, we're advertising right now. Our bid
Advertising,
opening, we're gonna take to the board May 24th. Oh, no, actually, this is gonna be the first June meeting, it's presented to the board. Yeah, but just to give you an idea of debt service ratio, this is what Estrada Hinojosa had done when we were looking at the loan that we have for Texas Water Development Board, which we did issue the $5.8 million loan, and this is the projection Adrian Galvan had put together. And if you see that ratio, the bond test, that always has to stay above 1.35. And right now, we're looking at, 2017, 2019, where it dips down to 1.39. And so that's why we don't want to add revenue debt at this time.
21, 22 also.
Right, but if you see the 2027 year, that's when the 2015 refunding is paid off, and then we jump up to a debt service coverage ratio of 4. So that's probably when we'd want to do another revenue note, 2028.
I'm sure we'll all be here for that.
Right. 2036, yeah, we'll be right around.
Oh, and also, I don't know if we got to the water treatment plant. Of course, one of the items I'd want to put on the tax bond is the new drying basins at Water Plant 2, instead of, the emergency messes we've had to deal with annually, because we're out of a place to put our sludge at the water plant. that wraps up the projects. I mean, really, so, I mean, I'm gonna bring a proposal. I didn't get into the little Garver thing. There's some slides there on Garver for grit removal. I don't know if you had a chance to look at them in your board packet.
A little bit.
And so it's a new firm. We never worked with them before, but I kind of like what I'm seeing from them. And I have proposals here if y'all would like to take them home and read through them. It's your choice. If they submitted their statement of qualifications, then you're welcome to review. And then maybe we can have a professional services committee meeting. Because right now, on the professional services issue, essentially our engineer that has a master agreement is Corolla. We've had it in place since 2014. And the way it works from our purchasing policy is we should have professional service contracts for 3 years. And so we're at the point to where we need to reconsider that 3-year master agreement, like this month actually in May. And so the decision is, do you want to keep working with Corolla as our prime?
I don't, they lied to me,
Yep,
flat-footed,
exactly. And
way back at the beginning.
So let me
One of the first conversations I had with Corolla, I said, if you're gonna be in construction, what I wanna see a completed set of plans that we can walk out and put out for bids, have a contractor come in here and build it in a timely manner, make a lot of money, you guys make money. When have we had a completed set of plans that didn't need to be tweaked here, tweaked there, modified this, added to, change order, change order, change order? So as far as I'm concerned, they're just a bunch of carpetbaggers. Nickel bleed us for every nickel they can.
Well, I found it a strange comment that they were gonna be nice to us. I'm talking about the methane monitoring.
Yeah.
And they were gonna take the $35,000 that they didn't charge for something for a $50,000 job.
Something like that.
All right, so one good example of why I'm trying to bring in a new firm is the Blanca proposal where we needed a hydraulic model. And they asked for getting a CFD modeler. The proposal was $99,000. Come on. So of course I was talking to these guys, and they're going to do a static model. I don't have pricing yet, but that's part of what I'm trying to put on proposal to present May 10th, and we still need it anyway. And so that's kind of where I don't have numbers ready, but I mean, for engineering, we're supposed to do a qualifications-based selection. So what I'm doing is giving you the proposal we have on file for Corolla, and then the firm that I'm requesting to use for engineer's report to prepare the bond application, and then let y'all make a decision.
And this is the Richard Correa who we already dealt with.
Yes, Richard Correa became their employee on last week.
Really?
Yes.
He's a straight up shooter, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to be our lead from the consulting side.
Is he based out of here or based out of Frisco?
No, he's going to work in Harlingen. I mean, Garver's trying to do a design center in the valley, and with Richard on, he's the first employee on board in the area. So I think they're going to try to be bringing work from all over the state to use the low-cost employment here. So I think it's a good plan to get them participating with the district.
Okay.
So over now, you're just sharing the information that you received, and this will be a future consideration of...
Yeah, I mean, if we can stay on our fast track to hit the bond schedule, I'd want to present a proposal on May 10th, if that's okay, to start their service. But they conduct an interview on May 10th, and then we make a decision at that point.
I would recommend that.
Anything else that y'all question, concern?
I didn't hear them talk at once.
Come back with a lot of information, still pending that we all need to see, and we'll bring it up to you.
So recapping, we're just gonna take and get more information on the new meter opportunities, and then we're gonna get more information on direction as far as if we're gonna have to do some funding, where it's gonna come from. We're talking about the tax, if we're gonna consider that, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, can we go into Fund 5, or Item 5, or have we started already?
No, no.
Okay. Yeah.
Whatever else time, start wrapping up.
Okay. I do have a schedule on Item 5 I want to go through.
Go ahead.
All right. So yeah, so basically, I think we kind of already, well, I gave you the 2011 bonds, the order, just for your records, so you know what we did back in 2011. So those are your copies to reference as needed. So we can just kind of thumb through all that real quick. If we look at the is if you go down to the Proposition 1 and 2, just the cost summaries. So this is what got approved by voters back in 2011. For Proposition 1, it was the full $23,750,000 for water distribution, wastewater collection, reuse improvements, Quatis pump station and pipeline, and improvements to water plant 2. And for the most part, Quatis and water plant 2 stayed pretty close to those numbers. You know, the contingency went to water plant 2 to finish it out. And of course, the reuse has really become the Portisville sewer plant, which is kind of phase 1, where the reuse, actual, you know, getting the water back to the reservoir is going to be future work. And then if we keep scrolling down to Proposition 2, that's the seawater plant, which we have a legal authorization to issue debt for $15.7 million, but essentially we can convert this for 20 years, or you know, or never actually issue debt. But that's basically where it's sitting right now. And so yeah, if we kind of keep thumbing down, Daisy, there's a schedule that we got from Noel Valdez. It's going to be after all the bond orders. I mean, it was approved 4-1 after the call election. I think Robert Fudge was the only one who said it was against. So yeah, if you want to see the actual the way it swung, for Proposition 1, it was 565 for, 471 against, and Proposition 2 was 544 for and 478 against. All right. Okay. Now this is the schedule and the triggers to stay on schedule. Or if you go back up, yeah, I guess that'll work. Like basically, I was already talking to our financial advisor and bond counsel as far as what do we need to do for a November 7th election, and we need to have a consulting firm give a signed and sealed engineer's report because the bond must have cost of what we need. Like we can't just throw a blanket with no cost supporting data. And there is a district review team at TCQ that requires, if we go in open market, they do the approval. If we go through Water Development Board, they do the approval for the engineer's report. So basically, that has to get done in the summer, and to meet the schedule, it has to be approved by board resolution at the first August meeting to get on the ballot. And so that's basically a hard deadline. So that's why I'm pushing for the approval to start May 10th, so we can get it all put together.
What I would like to see is what we did for this bond issue, this 20 million or 21 million, when we left a little opening for us in case we needed to change the project or two, that it would be okay to do that. Because I think in one of the bond issues we did, we were locked in on what we said we were going to do on that. But I think
well, Proposition 2, that seawater word killed it. I mean, if we would have left it open to reuse,
that's what killed us.
That would cover this project we're trying to do right now. Yeah, well, since we're not doing seawater, I mean, Proposition 2, I don't think we have to do a new election.
So, for my information, the bond approved for the seawater program, it's a dead issue. The district is not going to do that.
And we could even, if we want to do our public notice for the next campaign, it's one of the conditions of this approval is maybe to make Proposition 2 null and void.
Well, that was where my question was going, and to show the public that after further review it was not feasible, yada yada yada, and so if it takes a vote to kill it, let's do that, and then if we're coming back with something else to be more
So you're washing it out.
well, that's showing good faith that financial responsibility instead of just sitting there not doing anything, and then everybody's mind is, well, what about that bond?
Well, plus it gives the board, how can they have trust when we can just turn around and issue
But they won't
$60 million bond whenever we
accept that,
I
the
was
general public.
very eager for these till I went to those classes. It was just, and as far as Corollas goes, they're kind of sold as a car.
Yeah.
And then they go, you need tires too.
Well,
Wait a minute, steering wheel?
Well,
Gotta add a steering wheel on this thing.
What assessed me in cost control is we were sold on this existing contract at $7 million, and the contract opening $8.92 million.
What?
We were sold on $7 million for our current advertisement, and when the bids came open, it's $8.92 million. And then 120,000 change order just to not have failing sludge holding tanks.
Well, they're good at blowing smoke up people's dresses, I'll say that much.
If we're not happy with them, why do we got to keep them?
Yeah, I mean, let's finish out the contract. I mean, I think they still need to be...
Contract or no contract?
You know, we don't.
Well, the sludge holding tanks are
We
99%
don't need
done.
another,
We might pay for it.
Norris on our hand.
No, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying if we're gonna consider another company, I'm very open and very interested to see, you know, what else we can find who else we can find to really give us the service that we want.
Right, and if we didn't have the pressing schedule of a November bond election, I'd prefer an RFQ process, and that's why I'm just kind of bringing you two firms that I've already kind of scrutinized. You can keep the existing or go with this new one.
Find me another one.
Another one, Bradley Al? I don't know, Ambiotech? CDM Smith?
Well, our
CDM
boys
Smith,
from
whew, they
Corpus
close
fell
bad.
apart.
Yeah.
We had a good engineering
Oh,
firm
really?
up there,
Yeah,
but something happened and they.
No, well,
Not that long.
right.
Yeah,
Well, the first, well, yeah, I guess, well, I'll be rude now, I shouldn't say
You
that.
gotta get approval with the FBI from Panama.
I do know the history of Louis Jones.
Okay, is that what we
Well.
concluding?
Yeah, that's pretty much, I think we understand our direction, right?
Excellent workshop. Again, thank you everyone for taking on Saturday morning. This is how we move forward. Have a great day.